Pop Culture Pastor.
So Cody, right here at the beginning, we at Pop Culture Pastor, we like to honor the listeners, especially when they point out that someone messed up. And this someone I'm talking about, it's you.
Yeah, it was.
So
I have integrity. Unlike some journalists today, you will hear me issue public apologies when I'm in the wrong.
So whenever Cody makes a mistake, we have to give him the space, the room to offer a correction. To just we'll stand in the moment, we'll stand tall, and I will face the music and say Cody messed up. So Cody, what is it you said? I don't even remember now.
Oh my goodness. So I was talking about the series finale of Justified.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was Sam Elliott.
And I couldn't remember how it all went down. I thought Raylan and him had the shootout / he killed the Elliott shot his hat off, and I was wrong.
That's Boone.
And Jackson is jumping the gun, but yes. So Kyle Kessinger, longtime listener of the show, he caught it because it was a one-off for me. I watched it and I was like, oh, that was good, but I need Sam Elliott's mustache back on him. Because that was the thing that really took me out of the last season was no facial hair Sam Elliott. But Sam Elliott was killed by Boyd Crowder, beloved character on the show. And it was his henchman, Boone, that shot Raylan's hat off.
Okay.
So Jackson knew, Kyle knew, real
Cody
Justified fans know.
It's good that we get it out there when we mess up because as the tradition goes, you know, we don't want anyone just believing Cody is wrong, as he usually is. but also you get tormented by the ghost of Sam Elliott. And
do.
We can't have that.
So
even though Sam Elliott is still very much he's alive, right?
alive and well.
Oh my gosh.
He killed Bigfoot and Hitler.
His legend continues to grow.
It does.
He's Bradley Cooper's brother.
He is.
That's wow. Those whoever his parents are, that's quite the wide disparity between children. Yeah. Okay. So welcome. If you didn't know, this isn't just a special pod where Cody says all the things he's wrong about. This is watch-alongs. We've been watching Justified City Primeval. It was a big episode because it was the last episode. It's episode 8, the exciting conclusion of Justified City Primeval, episode 1? Maybe? I don't know. We'll get to that somewhere in the episode, whether we think this is a story that will continue. But because it's such a big episode, we brought one of our favorite geeks of the round table, Jackson, on to talk about this because Jackson's a fan of the show as well. Jackson, how big of a fan of Justified are you?
Oh, I've seen it all the way through at least twice. And it's kind of, once it got in there, it stuck. It's definitely been something Cody and I bonded over.
/ Jackson's the one that said, you really need to watch this.
Oh, okay.
And so I really started watching it.
All right.
So you're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jackson has pedigree. He's been with the show since the beginning, and we thought that he would be a great person to have on this episode to talk about with, because I do want to kind of talk about the macro vision of what we're getting by the time this episode's all wrapped up. So we'll get into that. But first, let's just recap here, and then we could talk about some of the bigger picture kind of stuff. This episode starts right where the last episode stops, which is on the bridge
With the Albanians.
Who have both Raylan and
Clement.
In custody. And they have just dropped Clement's gun off the bridge, for which I'm still confused as to why. Was there a point to that other than it was just a cool scene, like the videography, the cinematography there?
Well, it officially kind of ruins or alleviates Raylan's need to be there be in Detroit, because now his case is completely kaput unless you have other evidence.
Okay.
And so if you get rid of that, Raylan can honestly leave Detroit now.
So it's part of what paints Raylan into a corner of, well, now we have no way to bring this guy to justice, I guess. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, and if you take that lawyer, Carolyn was the one that set this all up, it's a good way for him to get out.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's where we start off. The Albanians, they take Clement to Skender's apartment with the panic room, which from the beginning, from that scene, I'm wondering, why does this guy have a panic room and why are we making such a big deal of it? Because it was going to come into play later. That's what we call a red herring.
Foreshadowing.
And so the idea is we're gonna throw Clement in the panic room and lock him away so he cannot open it from the inside. And when I was watching that happen, I was like, oh, this is a gnarly way for him to die. Also, I could not help but think of the scene in Austin Powers where Dr. Evil says, "What? I'm just gonna close the door and assume everything went to plan. What? You know, like, oh, we're just gonna let him be in there and assume he dies."
I
You
was
get that
hoping
feeling?
for that. I didn't expect it to happen, but I was hoping for it. So then no one's hands would get dirty.
You needed the sharks with the laser beams on their head.
They were missing from the whole thing. So, and then that happens really early in the episode, and you're thinking, okay, well, that's interesting, and it seems sort of anticlimactic. But you assume, I think, you're under the assumption that something's going to happen, and it happens pretty quickly because Raylan goes back over with Carolyn. By the way, Carolyn set all that up with we should say that, with the Albanians, that she made a deal with them. She's waiting there for him. Clement seems only mildly hurt that everyone was a part of it. And even they even have Raylan be the one who operates the door down. They make him push the button, which was sort of dramatic and unnecessary, but they made it happen. That doesn't stop Raylan from being the himbo and going back to Carolyn's house, except for he wakes up, or not wakes up. Maybe he's been tossing and turning. He can't sleep. Clearly cannot live with himself that his nemesis is going to die in that way. And so he leaves the house. You figure where he's going, but then he gets there and you don't see what's happened, but he says an explicative and you realize something's happened, and then flash to the 10 hours earlier. Was it 10 hours earlier?
It starts off
Or 2 hours earlier.
2 hours.
Several
early.
hours
Several.
earlier.
Just
Multiple
5
hours.
minutes later. Yeah, where we see the whole lead up to what has happened, which is Skender. And Skender, like, have we seen anything from Skender that any of these Albanians would have been okay with letting him go, kill him himself? Who thought, besides that Albanian henchman, that was going to go well?
He thought he needed to man up and become a man
Get his honor back.
by getting his honor back. It made sense on paper, but like, you should have gone with him if you thought that he needed this.
I love that any mobster type entertainment will tell you that the obvious lesson is honor is stupid.
Yeah.
Because anytime it's about my honor, anytime something like that comes up, you know something really dumb's about to happen.
And it does.
And it does. Because Skender goes on one leg to kill, a legitimate psychopath who, by the way, it kills without compunction. And so,
That's a big word.
he never has a chance. Like, immediately, it's dark in there. He's trying to get his bearings about him, and Clement attacks him from behind and kills him.
Like, he should have waited a couple days when he's dehydrated.
Yes.
starved, and oh, there he is lying on the floor. I'll take my honor back.
Well, clearly the guy Skinner's never taken psychology classes. I mean, he must have missed that while learning to be the hot dog king of Detroit. But he just didn't know that a cornered animal, what it was capable of.
I did.
And in this case, it was capable of, pounding him in the face with whatever he pounded him in the face with.
Was it the gun that he brought? Because I feel like that might have pistol whipped him.
Yeah, he pistol whipped him. Okay.
Yep.
Anyways,
Dare I say, the music in the next scene with Clement when he goes and seeks his revenge on all these shenanigans brought about by the Albanians, spot on. Because they use sparks. This town ain't big enough for the both of us. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, we're building up to him and Raylan. Duel Fest 2023.
Yeah, and let's talk about that because it's the first time we really see he's like the Death Star fully operational in that scene where we see the full danger and what he's actually capable of as he walks into this nursing home / gangster lair and just makes quick work of all these gangsters and lets the old man who foolishly picks up the gun and thinks he's going to do something, lets him go.
That was nice.
Which we could talk about that a little bit too. There's after painting Clement as a sociopath, and I labeled him as a sociopath after a certain amount of episodes.
You did. I cannot do those sorts of things with my license.
These last 2 episodes, I would say, they clearly... Well, I mean, you can't blame me for thinking he was a sociopath, right? They made him seem like he was unfeeling.
He really likes to know or let people know he can sing. He likes to be recognized for that.
But this episode in particular, we have a couple giant clues in that he's just really, really broken. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But he makes short work of the Albanians, and we kind of see what he's super capable of. Maureen back at the Detroit PD, she's getting hers. And by that, I mean she's going to jail.
Which, oh my goodness. I was so happy and angry all at the same time. Because she was so nice and loving to her family. And then, like, she flips the switch, like, you guys are really going to do this. Like, what are you jabronis doing?
Yeah. Yeah. So, but let's talk about this, though, because justified, what is justice is a common theme. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this the whole season. Where does she go wrong? What is the problem? Let's dissect what it is she's done here, because I think her defense would be kind of what she says is, I'm just taking bad people off the streets. Now, her name being in Judge Guy's book is a problem. But we get the idea that this is not the thing that's going to put her away. The thing that's going to put her away is getting the different guy that she knows was guilty of murder. But that thing's gone. I mean, like, look, I don't know what they're bringing her in for other than her name's in the book. And she makes mark of that. She says, that's what you got? That's what you're going on?
Well, the book shows she got payment.
Okay, but payment for what?
She got paid in correlation or in relationship to some case. And so if they can cross the dates and have someone say, oh, yeah, this person clearly didn't do it, or this person, Maureen, was, I saw her get money. Well, it's a little bit.
I think it was that subversion, though, and that's kind of what this episode has a lot of because I've heard on the past watch-alongs you guys were talking about and I told Cody I'm horrible with characters on this season. The other cop, not Wendell.
Brill.
Okay, there you go. That you were positive something was going to happen with him, whether he was going to be dirty or get killed or anything like that. And you're expecting that, and then boom, it's Maureen. And she kind of outs herself when she starts, well, we've got the gun and trying to plant the bodies on the other guy. And so I think really the point of that was to try and tie that story up of, of course she's saying you got nothing and everything like that, but, it's going to happen at some point. It was kind of putting a bow on that whole.
And I guess we should have seen the writing on the wall, because multiple times, including this last episode, they show us her house.
Mm-hmm.
And that house, I'm guessing in a big city like Detroit is, what are we thinking? Is that a $500,000 house?
Easy.
I know in Denver it would be.
Yeah.
And so kind of depending on what part of Detroit, there's a good chance.
So, and her husband, who they kind of painted out to be kind of a goober.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's a stay-at-home dad. I mean, I don't know what he's doing, but
Trophy husband.
He's a trophy husband. Yeah. So again, and when they go to get her, they show them like kind of walking up to the house. They give you the idea. Make sure you see the house again. So I guess we're to assume that she's been on the take for a while, but she's gonna do. I mean, her defense is gonna be, well, we're putting bad people away. What's the problem? That's the defense. They're gonna paint her. She's gonna paint herself as a vigilante.
Sorry, Maureen. Only one person can be Batman in this episode.
I give the actress credit, though. She went from likable to completely disdainful in a matter of seconds.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as she realized why they were there.
Yeah. It seems like we should have gotten some sort of wrap up on her.
That was it. I didn't need more.
You didn't need more?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's talk about Clement and his end here. As when Raylan leaves to go let him out, he and sees what's happened, sees Skender's mess up. He realizes, oh no, everyone else is in trouble. So he tells Carolyn to get out of the house. She does, and then he goes and waits. And we get the showdown we've been waiting for. Although, I don't think Clement realized it was a showdown. I don't like Clement. First things first, he realizes that Raylan went back for him.
Mm-hmm.
Clement really thinks Raylan is his friend.
I love it.
And now I'm having trouble with the whole We've been talking about them like Batman and Joker the whole time.
The Joker thinks that about bats.
He thinks Batman's his friend?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So there is a story where one of the other villains in Gotham actually pulls the mask off Batman, and he's like, why did you do that? And he goes on and on about, like, literally the mystery was what made this friendship work. And so, like, in the eyes of the Joker, oh, yeah, Bats and I are just playing a game. It's all fun.
Two sides of the same coin type thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Clement, up to the very end, as it all starts to mirror the old detective's story, right? The guy that first put Clement away. When he was telling the story to Raylan about how his old nemesis came to his basement to bury the hatchet, didn't want to do any of that anymore, and was reaching for
a church key.
A church key
is what he called it, or a bottle opener.
Yeah, a bottle opener, and he shot him. And he said he sleeps like a baby, doesn't miss any sleep about it, because he got him off the streets, even if he was saying he was going good or not. And now we get the same scenario, except for this time Clement is reaching for a cassette tape, which we assume, like, first of all, how adorable is it that it's a cassette tape? He's reaching for a cassette tape. Like, what are the odds that Raylan has a cassette player?
I'm sure Clement could steal a car that has a tape deck.
And he shoots him. And then it's almost like heartbreaking. He's like, what'd you shoot me for? Like, I can't believe you killed me. What'd you kill me for? He says, what did you kill me for?
So in that scene, So, like, I loved Raylan just sitting there waiting, and then you get Manziel breaking in, and they're kind of joking around, talking, and it's like, don't you dare do what the dirty, well, I'm going to call him a dirty cop. He might not have been super dirty, but don't you dare do what that cop told you that he did and sleeps well about it. And then he does it. And I'm like, oh, this hurts. Because it wasn't the duel that I wanted. As Jack said, it subverts everything that I was hoping for, expecting. And yeah, I think it was actually brilliant after setting on it for 2 days, but I'll let Jack talk.
Well,
What'd you think of that? What'd you think of Clement Manziel's in? Because look, we set up most of this series with the idea that this guy is the most formidable opponent that Raylan has faced. And that Raylan clearly, with concern, that's the whole reason he stays in Detroit, because this guy's bad news and he kills without thought, without which is why I thought he was a sociopath. But then there's a couple really interesting things. One of which is he really believed Raylan was his friend. He really cannot believe that Raylan shot him, even though from Raylan's point of view, we get it. He's reaching behind his back. You think, oh, he's reaching for a gun. You got to shoot him.
Yeah, he's just broken through the window at his lawyer's house after threatening her,
Yeah.
I don't know, earlier that day or recently.
Yeah, from a legal standpoint, the shooting's completely justified.
It is justified.
Trademark TM.
Yeah, I was going to say, Cody's got to take his moment.
Oh, yeah. It was justified. But at the same time,
Trademark TM.
it wasn't. So he didn't actually get the guy to pull on him. That's how it's gone in the past. It's like, okay, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If you pull, I'll give you a chance. But he really doesn't. He just is like, I'm too good for this. But this time, there wasn't even the slightest movement for a gun. It was for a cassette tape. Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Clement.
Did you say everything you wanted to say there, Jackson? I kind of jumped in there.
No, you're good. I've kind of told Cody I was waiting for things to get going over the past couple episodes, and there was a lull there for maybe 2 or 3 where I'm like, I'm getting told Clement's a bad guy, but I'm not really seeing anything beyond, your traditional things. And then I think it was episodes 7 and 8 where I think it was Sweetie and then the guy whose hotel room, like he was just going through everybody. And I felt like the way they wrote that character off, it was that subversion. It was, you were expecting the duel and, oh, okay, I know exactly how this is going to go down. And then all of a sudden they take that hard right turn on you. And I feel it was more interesting. And I think I maybe was where Cody got later of that's how they needed to do it. Because if this just ends with him walking away, cops in the background, it's satisfying, but it's not anything that is going to be memorable.
Mm-hmm.
It's just real procedural.
One more thing with Clement, because I mentioned there was something he says that kind of lets us in on the fact that he's really broken, other than not necessarily a sociopath, right? He feels things, and he says something that's kind of a revelation. And he says something to Raylan, and it's in that last scene. He says, "Mild man, so I've been told was the real deal." Mm-hmm. So this is the first time we've heard about his dad. He's usually talking about his mom and the fake way she died, which I think the last way he told it was the truth, that he killed her. But he starts talking about his dad and the real deal, meaning a musician, because he said he played with Waylon back in the day. Waylon Jennings, I'm assuming, is who we're talking about.
It's the only Waylon I would go with.
Till my mama ran him off. Okay, so now we have motive of why he's upset with mom. Mm-hmm. I never knew the man, but I hear he was a real barn burner, and I've got his DNA. So this dude really thought he was, we already knew he thought he was a great singer.
I thought he was.
That he was destined for a life in the music industry, and, it just, things kept getting in his way. But let it never be said that daddy issues, again, man, that's something. And if you've got them, so like, here's a dad he didn't really know, but he'd heard stories about, and then it all makes sense. You understand why he believes that he could be a singer, because he's got this dad who he's got like in reverence. He holds in reverence, but yet has no idea who he is. Mm-hmm. And that's wild, but identifiable. Like you can identify with that. Like if you know people or know people who came from broken homes, like, you know, like it's just, man, there's so much there. And all of a sudden you realize, yeah, like, okay, daddy issues can be a powerful thing.
Can be.
And especially when the only place you know him is in your head, like Clement, where he has no idea who the man is.
I like to think it was Willie Nelson. He played with Raylan.
I like to think that if he'd have found out that Willie Nelson was his dad at some point, and if Willie would have been a part of his life, then none of this would have happened. Poor Skinder. Anyways, that leads us to kind of what is the epilogue of the show, which is, you know, that everything kind of works out. Clement dies. Carolyn gets her judge seat. Maureen is clearly going to be off the force. And then we get the surprise retirement of Raylan Givens. This is it. He's done. He's clearly, and he shocks his former chief at his retirement party and says, I'm retired. And then the next thing you see is him at his home. He's doing, like, you know, home improvement work. And, you know, no Tim Allen.
Tim Allen.
And no neighbor from the forehead up.
Wilson.
But then he has this really interesting conversation with, what's her name?
Winona?
Yes, Winona. And
Natalie Z, as I like to refer to her.
I was waiting for that.
When she finds out he retired, she's in this series for all of, 30 seconds? And she does some pretty good acting, facial acting, just in the hearing of that news.
Well,
I
it
was
a
with her.
powerful statement, too. You couldn't leave the job for me, but you could leave it for her.
Yeah. But she says, I'm glad you could leave it for her. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming by her, she's talking about Willa, the daughter. That's where he was saying it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. I want to make sure we're not getting confused. Yeah. Because I think some people could have read it like at first that it was about Carolyn, but then we see him in the next scene on the boat with Willa.
Although I don't think that's the full reason he left. I think that's the excuse he uses to sleep at night. I don't think that's the reason he left.
Do you think he has problems with what exactly is justified? Trademark to you?
Yeah, because I think I don't know if it's set right with him when he heard the story of the first arresting officer, how he can sleep.
Yeah.
And now that he's done it and the guy didn't pull on him.
Right. Isn't it possible that he's on the same journey the person watching is? That there was he feels like there was just something not right about him. And the same thing that was gnawing at him that said, I can't let that man die in there slowly, is still going to gnaw at him when he realizes he wasn't being pulled on.
Yeah.
This is the first time maybe we've seen, because I think old Raylan would have been like that detective that he has the conversation with. But this whole series, we've seen a newer Raylan, a different Raylan. And I think you're right, Cody. I think it's not just about the daughter.
I do think it's a part of it.
Yes, I think it's a part of it. But I think also he's not sleeping well at night. This doesn't sit right with him. And I bet he wishes he could take it back. He doesn't feel right about it.
So with Clement getting locked up, it was something I was going to bring up earlier, but I think we got past it, was him going back there I've got to make sure he's out of the picture, or as you mentioned, I can't live with the fact that I basically signed on to someone's death, a slow, painful.
Outside the law, completely outside the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I felt like it was I want to be the one to make sure he's gone and over with so he doesn't come after me or my daughter. later on.
So I could see that, and I could also see, I'll give you a 50-50 chance at it.
Yeah.
Here's another
Yeah.
gun. I got one.
It brings up the inevitable question of what happens if he's there.
Yeah.
My personal belief is I think he's going to put that gun down in the middle of him and say,
Well, that's what
Let's
he was
go.
ready to do at the
Yeah.
restaurant.
I think that's what his whole plan was the whole time is for some reason in Raylan's mind, the Old West shootout, the fair shootout is the way to go.
He's seen Tombstone.
So I think that's what he would have done. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. His character arc through this show, it's the most interesting part of this little, whatever we want to call this epilogue to the original show. And then the City Primeval story in general, I think what we're dealing with mostly, other than a star turn by Boyd Holbrook, who's amazing as Clement Mansell, I think the series in general is dealing with this idea of who is Raylan becoming, because he is changing into something different. He's not, even though his actions sometimes are, no, let's just shoot it out. Let's just have a shootout. But what we're left with at the end belies that maybe he is a law guy. It's interesting. It's interesting to me, and I don't think you get a definitive answer, and I don't think you're supposed to.
I think he has his code, but he gets disappointed when people engage in dirty activities, like with that cop. Am I seeing this? And it was asking, are all you guys in the book? And I can't say the second part of that, but
You cannot. This is a family show.
and he always seemed like he's willing to do whatever to get the job done, but he still believed in, I guess, the law for others, doing it the right way for other people. But
Yeah, he definitely bent ethics and morals with himself. Like, well, it at least has the appearance of being justified if this
Trademark
guy touches his gun or whatever. But other people, yeah, you guys got to follow the letter of the law. I'll be the wild card for everyone else.
We really needed a sound effect for every time we said that term.
Justified.
If something was justified, trademark TM. Pew! Like a shotgun ricochet. Pew!
well, if you wouldn't have to pay through the mouth, I'd say the Law and Order.
Okay, let's talk about what we probably all want to talk about. The second part of the epilogue.
The other star turn of a
Which belongs to Walton Goggins and Boyd Crowder, which as soon as you see that we're back in Kentucky, like you don't even need to ask what's coming. Although it's great. Everything about it is great. From the fact that Boyd Crowder is doing prison preaching
While being an inmate himself.
while lying through his teeth. Because, listen, there's nothing wrong with him. He says he's got an illness, a malaise. And it's all a scam. It's all an escape attempt because, of course, he's duped some pretty deputy or what do they call those? The people that work at the prison. They are deputies.
corrections officer.
Correction officers. He's duped some attractive female officer to join in on his escape attempt, to which he does, to which really there's nothing really to say except for he rides off into the sunset.
And
with this pretty
poor
girl.
Luis Guzman.
And poor
Yes.
Louis Guzman. Yeah. Well, they leave him there.
Well, he's stuck in the back of a car in the middle of backwoods Kentucky.
No, he's going to get out.
They threw the keys in there. I couldn't figure out if he could unlock.
No,
from
he
inside.
probably has to wait for help, but help will come because, when they don't get to wherever they're going, surely there's a system of reporting when you get to your destination.
That's what you think.
That's not going to happen. And then they'll come find him on their route. Louis Guzman's fine, everybody.
So would you say that's not justified?
That was not justified.
Poor Louis. I mean, they could have just left him there, but they assume he could radio for help. So
Now-
I get it.
When he's in the prison, I'm wanting him and all the inmates to be transported to the woods and start Crowder's Commandos 2.0.
Hey, he already had him. That was 2.0. It was just a different setting. Now they're commandos for the Lord, Cody. So yeah, we get this little epilogue, and I don't know. I'm interested to know what you guys think, because here's what I'm going to say. I don't think they're making more of this show. I think that's a perfect way to end it. They leave it up in the air because what the last scene you see is him on the boat with Willa, Raylan on the boat with his daughter, and he hears the report in the background about the escaped inmate from whatchamacallit, Kentucky, and his phone starts ringing, and that's it. You just hear the ringing of the phone. Raylan doesn't answer the phone. He's looking at it.
He doesn't answer the phone yet.
Yeah.
He's looking at his daughter. He's looking at the phone, and that's what you get. The camera kind of pans out with the phone ringing in the background. And honestly, I think that's a perfect way to end it, because in my mind, he doesn't pick up that phone.
He picks it up.
Yeah,
no, I don't think he picks up the phone.
150%.
So here's what I think's going to happen. Some Hollywood exec is going to be like, well, this did okay streaming viewing numbers. We'll go ahead and make another season. And in that narrative, he's going to pick up the phone. I actually think this is a good ending, because here's my problem with it. I am not a huge fan of this epilogue, and I'll tell you why. Not because I don't love Boyd Crowder, and Walton Goggins is just, I mean, gosh, even in 10 minutes of screen time, dude's amazing. He is fantastic. But I do think by including that at the end of this show, you completely like minimize and kind of, I don't know. I don't like what it does to the story as a whole and to the character of Clement Mansell, who, not only won't be making it out of this little story because he's dead, but then Boyd Crowder comes in, and now I'm just like, well, what did we do all this for? It's cute. It's fan servicey, which again, this kind of runs into the conversation a lot of properties are having right now. Like, is fan service a good thing, or can it cross a line into something where it actually dilutes the story you were telling?
So I think that City Primeval's done. I think another Justified spinoff will happen. That's a different tale, but this time Boyd Crowder's back in it. So City Primeval's just a little blimp in the road. That it was just its own little thing, and now we're back into the main story. And so, no, I think they're going to make more Justified, because Raylan, he's going to answer. Really, the Batman comparison really works, because I think if Batman would kill the Joker, he would be in remorse. He would be like, oh, how could I do this? But then one of the other rogues breaks out. I'm back in. Yeah. I have to finish it.
Yeah.
And so,
where are you at with this, Jackson? Where are you at with this ending?
I'm at two minds, because if it is truly a farewell to the character, and he's retired with his daughter, they're on a boat, they're reconnecting, that's the best way, the happiest ending for Raylan. And you give us, me especially, as Cody's text messages would show, you give me what I wanted of Boyd Crowder, and it's that little taste. It doesn't dilute the rest of the series, and that's your farewell. That's your ride off into the sunset, or boat off into the sunset moment. But at the same time, if they do, this does the right kind of numbers, gets the people interested, and they do go with it, there's your direction. But it's been a while since I've seen the original series, but I remember, we dug coal together, and it didn't seem like he had that mentality by the end, at least, of, I'm going to put Boyd down one way or the other. Mm-hmm. It was that frenemies to almost actual friends, and then...
Yeah, like if we're honoring the end of the series, then this does not lead to anything else. Mm-hmm. He doesn't pick up the phone, right?
Yeah.
If we're honoring the tone of the way the series ended with we dug coal together, and you take that as a moment of like, hey, listen, Boyd's not my arch nemesis. Mm-hmm. He's just a guy that I grew up with, and we have an interesting relationship. and he's a little messed up. But I made my peace with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Raylan would definitely want him back in prison, no
You think
matter
so?
the cost.
You think so?
If you
Because,
feel
but listen, this is a bloodless escape. He could have killed Luis Guzman. He didn't.
He didn't, but he's out.
and he's going to Mexico.
And he's going to
though.
Mexico.
He's going to Mexico. And you know what? Now Raylan doesn't have to be a U.S. Marshal. He can be a bounty hunter.
Yeah. Listen, I bring it up because it's a good talking point. I'm torn. On one end,
/ I missed Ava Crowder being in this.
I didn't. But
on one hand, I feel like I love the epilogue, but I feel like it dilutes the story ever so slightly because if it leads to another season. If it doesn't, if this is the end, then I think it's a perfect ending. Because the whole point of this City Primeval story was to show us that Raylan Givens was changing, was that he was changing and had changed from the way he used to be, and the story of the old detective, his story, and then how it mirrors what Raylan did, and it immediately leads to his retirement. I think was proof that, like, okay, yes, this is a Raylan who is feeling things and is looking at things a little differently, and now is going to go live life. Because, like, look, I'm just going to say your career is not the most important thing in your life. I mean, this is a good question for everyone to ask of themselves. It's like, at what point, no matter how important my work is, does my family come in, my loved ones? How important? Like, we've mentioned this on other episodes of the pod that weren't, watch-alongs.
Looking at you, Tom Brady.
Yeah, we've talked about how, like, hey, no one on their deathbed says, I really wish I would have worked more. No. They talk about how they wish they would have spent more time around loved ones.
Yeah.
We know what matters intrinsically, and Raylan has figured that out.
Has he?
And so it's a perfect ending. But if he picks up that phone, Cody...
I'm just saying Elmore Leonard had Raylan outside of Kentucky and outside Detroit.
If he picks up that phone, then there's going to be another season, and I'm not happy, and I'm happy.
It won't be City Primeval. It'll be a different tale.
I'm not happy, and I'm happy, because I'll be the first one in line, because it's Boyd Crowder and Raylan Givens. I mean, who am I fooling?
well, he was already like she was talking to him, and he was looking at the phone, and then he made her repeat herself. So I could already see the backslide coming.
I love that we call it a backslide.
But I feel like Boyd is the biggest through line for the original series other than Raylan. So it could just be that, oh, Boyd, that rascal's off on other adventures.
This is true.
This movie is like it mirrors, or this show has always mirrored Westerns. And you referenced Tombstone earlier. He's not going to be Wyatt Earp. He's not going to be the guy that says, you know what, I'm done with this life. I'm going to go see the world with my loved one.
Yeah.
So if that's what if we're giving up that just because we want another year of entertainment, we're the selfish ones here, Cody. Just because we want some more Walton Goggins in our life.
So that makes Raylan Virgil? Minus the arm wound?
Oh, man. I tell you what, even after all saying all that, and how I'd be disappointed if they continued the story, because that is kind of a perfect ending to leave it up in the air. Oh, man, I would love to see Timothy Olyphant and Walton Goggins again going toe to toe, because if there's anything better than Boyd Holbrook and Timothy Olyphant sitting across a table, it's Walton Goggins and Timothy Olyphant sitting across a table in a conversation about a showdown.
Yeah.
Well, and this is kind of a question relating to that. We've all seen the original, correct? The original series.
Yeah.
Did seeing Boyd Crowder immediately make you forget about Clement Mansell, or is that just me?
Yeah, no, it absolutely.
No, it did not.
It absolutely did. But that's part of what I'm saying, is that it dilutes the story they told a little.
I was 100% on board Clement and also Raylan having adventures outside the backwoods of Kentucky. Because as a U.S. Marshal, I don't feel that you just stay in the hometown you were born and raised in.
Well, he didn't want to be there originally. He got sent there from Miami. But I was thinking about that on the way over here, that this is like you had your original Justified where you had all the family components and he knew everybody. And then City Primeval, where it's like a Raylan Givens tale, where, it's this complete different environment, and he's just like the little spice you throw in, that common thread.
Yeah, it's Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. It's like the opposite of, it's sort of a backwards Beverly Hills Cop, because in Beverly Hills Cop, it's the Detroit police officer who gets mixed up in Beverly Hills police work. And in this one, it's, someone from the backwoods of Kentucky, but now via Miami, which is very much more like a Beverly Hills type outfit, I would assume, and getting sent into the murky place of Detroit police work. And so it's a reverse Beverly Hills Cop. That's a thing. That's a term people use.
You heard it here first. If you hadn't heard it,
Okay. Who's the winner of the series in your mind? Who wins the whole show?
Okay, before we get to the series, can I do episode?
Episode what?
This episode, like the winner of the episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give them to me both.
So the winner of the episode is anyone named Boyd, fictional or in real life. Yeah. So Boyd Holbrook did phenomenal this episode. Boyd Crowder, he was there and he stole his 10 minutes. The winner of this series it's a toss-up between Boyd Holbrook and Sweetie.
Sweetie's so good. He's so good in this show. Vondy Curtis Hall, the actor that played him, he's amazing. Yep. Jackson, who's the winner of the season of the show?
I am one of those detractors that Cody talked about when it came to Willa at first.
Yeah.
I was not very nice to her.
I was offended that he wasn't.
Was thinking, like, am I going to stop at episode 2? Because I had some of the same fears you did. Is she going to be in all of this? Is she going to just...
I really thought they were going to pull a Kim Bauer.
Get into all
and
these misadventures. But then she got me with the airplane scene, similar to Cody. And I found myself in later episodes like, I really wish she'd come back. Like, where's she at? Like, Raylan really needs this piece, because he was kind of getting forgotten in some of those middle episodes. And when she comes back at the end, it was kind of like an old friend's back. Like, and I'm not usually somebody that, when I got my impression, it's my impression. So I give her credit because she completely won me over. I thought it was a useless character and, just really saddled Raylan down right at the beginning, and that it was kind of like that cop and a half or, type thing where they've got to soften Raylan with this daughter. And, she's the thing I'll remember most out of the series, this series.
Yeah. I think she was great in that last scene. That would have been a real easy scene to overact in, I think. And the look on her face as they're both kind of looking at the phone, where she's kind of towing this line of clearly she's curious about what he's about to do, but also trying to pretend look like she's not. Mm-hmm. Like she had a face that showed all that in that moment, and I was like, okay, she's got some talent.
It comes naturally. It's in her genes.
Yeah, the real life daughter of Timothy Oliphant.
She knows who her dad is, and she knows that she got his genes. Real deal.
The winner of the season for me, I think, is Boyd Holbrook. Boyd Holbrook was great in this show. I think if anyone can overshadow Timothy Oliphant, it was him. I think he was fantastic, and even into his final moments in this episode, where he actually makes you feel for him, where he's like, I can't believe you shot me. I can't believe you killed me.
Literally.
What did you do that for?
This dude had killed more people than the Unabomber.
I know.
And I'm like, well, this wasn't how it was supposed to go down.
Yeah.
Poor
I know.
Clement.
Yeah. And that's a testament to the acting, to the writing of the character. And just honestly, you'd expect a couple of pastors to feel that way, because we see the brokenness in everybody. But and want to have compassion.
I will say the writing for his character / this whole series, like his character brought everyone back to their basic survival instincts, and they would act in ways that typically they probably wouldn't act, including Raylan, because if he really shot him because he's like, Carolyn's not safe, Willis not safe, no one's safe if he's still alive. I mean, that's out of his normal character. Yeah. And so, City Primeval, it lived up to its name.
Yeah. Loser of the episode, or the season. Who's the loser of the whole show? Doesn't have to be an actor, could be a character. Could be
honestly, it's Raylan for me right now. Yeah. I was so heartbroken when he killed Clement. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was so let down. Although now that I've stewed on it for several days, I'm like, okay, it really fits with the show, the theme of the show.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to feel the angst he's probably feeling.
And I'm like, how dare you?
Because he's not that detective he talked to.
Yeah.
The guy that sleeps without a problem. Like, I think that's the whole point of the show, is that no, Raylan is a human being, and he's not going to be okay with that. That he thought that Clement had a weapon, and that's what he was going for, and he's so used to reacting. Like, I think you're supposed to feel that.
And there's times that I do think Raylan takes a little bit of a backseat.
Now,
but
if they do another show, I want to see that played out, though. Don't pull a Scarlet Witch. Don't pull out a show and then forget all the character development he just had and then have him be completely different. Because if he goes after Boyd, I would expect that he's going to be doing so with the idea that he wants to bring him in alive.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson, who's the loser of the show?
I was worried I was going to be controversial in saying Raylan, but I didn't have a second one prepared. So
no.
We'll go with Raylan as well. But for me, it was maybe a little less like the storyline and more the character, because I was thinking like the old original Justified, Raylan was just always so cool. He always had the right line, and you knew he wasn't messing around. And, he was somebody that even as an adult, I'm like, I want to be that guy, that confidence. And I can count on maybe one hand the amount of moments he has in this series that are similar to that. Making the Albanians leave. That's the main one of where, like, that's my old Raylan. That's the Raylan I'm familiar with. So I think, as Cody also said, that Raylan, there are some episodes where he takes a back seat. And I know Boyd, in the later seasons especially, he has his own episodes of Justified. But
he does.
But I'm a Boyd Crowder fan, so I was perfectly fine with that. And, they give me enough Raylan, but it felt like at times, like it was a story that could have been any U.S. Marshal, any cop. And it was like, well, we've got this script, so let's make it a Raylan Givens story.
Yeah.
Well, City Primeval isn't a Raylan Givens story.
No.
So you're right. It could have been in the U.S. Marshal.
It could have been. I love that you said he's a cool customer. That's what the part of the attraction of Raylan Givens and Timothy Oliphant as he plays them. We would be remiss if we did not mention the build up to that final Clement Mansell scene where he says that he makes a remark about how they could have been friends. Like if our lives work out differently, we could have been friends. And Raylan says something along the lines of, no, and if your mama had wheels, she'd be a streetcar, Anyway, he delivers that line is so stinking perfect. And I'm like, yes, he's amazing as this character. And who am I fooling? I would love to watch as many shows as you'd like to make as him as this character. My loser of the entire season is Skender. Because Skender could have been on a plane to the Bahamas with Sandy.
He could have.
All of this would have went away if Sandy comes to his hospital room, hat in hand, admitting she messed up, but that she really likes him, and like, hey, let's just get out of here. He could have been on his way to the good life, and he messed it up.
Well, actually, that brings up an interesting point, because I could probably say the loser of the series is the Albanians in general.
Yeah.
Because other than the one incident with the roommate, you're told how bad and how terrible and, they're going to peel my skin off and everything like that. But they go down quick without a fight easily.
The Albanians still have their Detroit crime empire. If Skinder just gets on a plane with Sandy, who's like, listen, she's easy on the eyes.
Hard on the heart.
Skinder, what are you doing, man? My man.
Well, and I thought that was going to be where the turn for the Albanians was when he's like, "You're dead, woman." I probably shouldn't have done that imitation, but
yeah. But honestly, forgiveness. If Skinder had any inclination for forgiveness, things would have been played out a lot different. Who knows how it all would have went. Overall, what are you giving this season out of 10 Stetson hats? How many out of 10?
I'll go 8.5.
Okay. Yep.
7.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where I'm gonna be. 7, which is good. It's good. I liked it. But like if I place it among the seasons of Justified, it's somewhere in the middle for me.
I mean, of course, I think season 2 is the best, and then you then battle for what comes after that.
Yeah. But overall, I think it was good. I think it was a worthy addition to the Justified mythology.
Well, and this is a question we ask with the amount of media that's out there. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when you're ready to rewatch Justified, are you going to watch the original Justified? Are you going to include this?
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely include it.
I don't know that I'll go back.
You don't think so? It's the one and done for you.
I mean, it's like a Pizza Hut pizza. It served its purpose. It was enjoyable but
I will say
we are not sponsored, by the way.
Depends. If this is the last thing they ever make, then I would definitely revisit it because there's deep things that I like. You know, if you listen to this pod, Cody and I like the deep stuff. Mm-hmm. We kind of like the deep things. And if this is the end where it's left kind of up in the air, there's lots of deep things to talk about, whether what he learned, how he changed, where he's headed now. But if they make another season, then like I said, I think it kind of dilutes this story, and that would make me not want to revisit it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If the next season or next show is phenomenal and it definitely ties into City Primeval,
but it
have to.
But it won't.
Because literally, Raylan will have this weird thing that happened that changes him forever. He carries around some guilt, and then Boyd Crowder escapes. You have to go back and rewatch it. Even though maybe you don't necessarily fully need to, but you should.
Are you doing other things while it's on if you go back?
Are you rewatching it while playing games on your phone?
Are you folding laundry?
Are you rewatching it while cooking dinner?
I would be rewatching it without doing anything because I was invested into Clement.
Okay.
I was
on my
really
phone.
into the Clement Mansell story, and when like his character wasn't in the episodes as predominantly earlier on in the season, I was like, come on, how dare you hold back Boyd?
All right. Well, we've laid it out there, our thoughts on the season, the finale and the season as a whole of Justified City Primeval. What do you think? What were your thoughts? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us in anything? Let us know in the comments on the social media for this episode. We'd love to hear from you and carry on a conversation about what you liked and what you didn't like. And stay tuned. We're going to take a few weeks off from watch-alongs, but we'll be back for Loki season 2, which comes out the first week of October, if I'm not mistaken.
You will have to issue an apology if you're wrong.
Yeah, I don't think I will. I think it's the first week of October. So Loki season 2 will be the next watch along, and that'll be fun. We'll get back into the comic book swing of things with that. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll watch something with you next time.